There are days that I miss being the person that I used to be. And I don't mean that in some dramatic Parkinson's ruined my entire life kind of way. It didn't. I love my life. I'm proud of the life that I have. But sometimes I miss being stronger. I miss being quicker on my feet. And maybe even more than that, I miss being quicker in my head, solving problems, multitasking, having three things coming at me at once and somehow keeping all three plates spinning. And if you live with Parkinson's, maybe there are parts of the old you that you miss too. Maybe you've even wondered whether you're supposed to admit that. So today I want to talk to you about something I think a lot of us feel, but don't always say. What do you do when you miss the person you used to be? And before we're done, I want to give you something practical that you can actually do with that feeling. Because I don't think the answer is simply pretending that it isn't there. Well, hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Bryce, and this is Bryce Unplugged. Obviously, you can see today, no list, no 7 symptoms, and no number 4 that will shock you. Just something that's been on my mind lately. There are moments when I notice something that I used to do without thinking, and suddenly I remember the version of me who could just do it. Maybe you know that feeling too. Maybe it's driving. Maybe it's working. Maybe it's going somewhere without first thinking about medication, energy, bathrooms, walking distance, or whether your body's going to cooperate. Maybe it's your voice, your handwriting, your memory, or your confidence. Or maybe what you miss isn't one Parkinson's symptom at all. Maybe you miss a part of yourself. And for me, one of those things is strength. Boy, I miss being strong. And not because I was some professional bodybuilder, nobody was oiling me up and putting me on the cover of Muscle and Fitness. Remain calm. But I was strong. I could pick things up. I could carry things. I could move things. I could do physical jobs without calculating whether my body was going to cooperate first. I used to pick something up just because it needed picking up. That was pretty much the entire decision-making process. Now I look at it like we're entering into contract negotiations. How heavy are you? How far are we going? Are there stairs involved? Do you have any references? Is there a waiver that I should sign? And there was confidence in not having to think about any of that. You didn't wonder, can I lift that? Will my grip hold? Am I going to lose my balance? Am I having a good day or a bad day? You just walked over, you picked the damn thing up. And maybe that's one of the things that you miss too. Not necessarily muscles, but maybe you miss the certainty. That little voice that used to say, I've got this. And now sometimes that sentence comes with an asterisk. I've got this, probably. Give me a second. And maybe stand nearby in case it turns into an insurance claim. There are still things I can do. There's a lot of things I can still do. But I miss not having to negotiate with my body before I did them. And maybe you do too. And sometimes nobody else sees that loss, do they? They can see whether you carried the box. You remember the person who never had to think about the box at all. And physical strength is one thing, but for me, there's another kind of strength that I miss just as much. Speed. Not walking speed, but thinking speed. I've always been a problem solver. Something goes wrong. Okay. What's the issue? What are the options? What do we do next? I could usually have multiple things happening at once and keep track of all of them. Somebody could throw me a problem and I'd already be halfway towards an answer before they even finished explaining it. And now? Well, now sometimes I still know the answer. It's in there. It just takes the scenic route getting out. And there may be a rest stop along the way, probably snacks, M&M peanuts, of course. But eventually we arrive. Maybe you know that one. Maybe you feel that one. Somebody asks you something and you know it, but you need a second. Or you're doing one thing and somebody adds another thing and suddenly both things fall out of the shopping cart. I used to have 5 things happening at once and somehow kept them all moving. Now, if I'm making coffee and somebody asks me a question, there's a legitimate chance neither of us is getting what he came for. My brain used to feel like a switchboard. Now sometimes it feels like one heavy, hardworking employee sitting at a desk saying, can everybody please stop calling me at the same time? And that can shake your confidence. Because maybe being quick was part of who you were. Maybe you were an organizer, the decision maker, the person everybody called when something went wrong. Maybe you ran a business. Maybe you managed a household. You maybe led a team or fixed things, built things, remembered everything. And then Parkinson comes along and suddenly you hear yourself saying, hang on, give me a second. That hurts. And not because needing a second is some giant tragedy, but because you remember when you didn't need it. And I think sometimes that's what we miss. It isn't the ability itself, it's the identity attached to it. I still solve problems. I just don't always solve them at NASCAR speed anymore. Sometimes they're touring the countryside. Beautiful scenery. We'll get there. And once you start thinking about that, you realize it may not be strength or mental speed that you miss the most. And you know what? Maybe yours is completely different. Maybe you miss independence, or maybe you miss spontaneity. Do you remember spontaneity? You know what that one is? Like somebody would say, do you want to go out? And you'd say, sure. And that apparently was the entire planning committee. Now it can become, let me think about that. When did I take my medication? How long are we going? Are we sitting? How far do I have to walk? Is there a bathroom? How am I feeling? What time do we eat? Do I need medication with me? Do I have enough energy? And by the time you figured out medication timing, bathrooms, walking distance, energy, and seating, the restaurant's closed. Somebody just asked whether you wanted a hamburger. Apparently, this now requires a feasibility study, a mental forecast, and an environmental impact approval. You know what? Maybe you miss trusting your body. Maybe you miss dancing or cooking, working, traveling. Maybe you miss being the person who helped everybody else instead of occasionally needing help yourself. Maybe you miss your old voice or your handwriting, your memory, or your confidence. Or maybe you just miss not thinking about Parkinson's. And if you do, I think you're allowed to say that. Because this is where I think we sometimes make it harder on ourselves. We are almost afraid to say, I miss who I was. Because it sounds ungrateful, especially if your life is still good, especially if you have people you love, especially if you spent years telling yourself, keep going, stay positive. Look at what you can do. Don't let Parkinson's define you. And I believe all of that. But none of it means that you have to pretend you don't miss what's changed. You can be grateful for your life and still grieve parts of it. Those things can exist in the same room. I can love who I am today, and I can still miss the guy who could multitask like his brain had 14 browser tabs open and somehow none of them crashed. Although, let's be fair, we tend to remember the old version of ourselves like he was some flawless action hero. Old Bryce lost his keys too. He just did it faster. Or maybe we're romancing him a little bit. Anyway, still, you get my point. And that brings me to the part that matters the most. If you miss the old you, now what? Because I don't want to just sit here and say, yep, that's hard, and then send you home. So if you're sitting here thinking, okay, Bryce, I miss that person. What am I supposed to do with that? Well, I don't think the answer is pretending you don't. I think the first thing is to figure out what exactly do you miss? Because I miss the old me. That's huge. But I miss feeling strong, or I miss trusting my brain, or I miss being spontaneous. I miss solving problems quickly, or I miss feeling useful. I miss being independent. Those are different. And once you can name it, maybe the questions change. Not, how do I get my old life back? But how do I keep that part of me alive in the life I have now? And that's something that we can actually work with. Maybe you miss being a problem solver. Okay. Maybe you don't solve problems as quickly now as you used to. But are you still a problem solver? The answer is probably. Maybe the tool changed. Maybe the speed changed. Maybe you write things down now. Maybe you ask somebody to help you think something through. And maybe you need 10 minutes instead of 2. But the part of you that wants to figure it out may still be there. Parkinson's may have changed the operating system. Some of the original software is still running, and occasionally with 17 updates pending, but it's still there. And strength can work the same way. Maybe physical strength has changed, but maybe now strength looks like adapting, asking for help, getting up again, doing the physio, showing up on a bad day, or even just saying, this sucks today, without deciding that your whole life sucks. And that counts. And I'll tell you something else. If you were stubborn before Parkinson's, excellent news, because that particular feature appears to have survived completely intact. No decline whatsoever. In some cases, probably progression. Ask Carmen. So no, we don't become brand new people. Some things stay stubbornly familiar. Maybe the person you were is still there, but they have different equipment now. And that's why I think one of the best things we can do is keep one piece of the old us alive. If there is a part of yourself that you miss, find some version of it that still fits your life now. If you were creative, create something. If you fix things, then fix something you still can. If you love being social, find the version of social that works now. If you're a family problem solver, keep being part of the solution, even if you need more time. Or if you loved helping, then help, just maybe differently. But don't surrender something that still matters to you just because Parkinson's changed the rules. You may need to modify it, shrink it, slow it down, ask for help with part of it. But sometimes keeping one piece of that old identity alive, that will remind you that I'm still here. And I think that matters because Parkinson's can make us focus so much on what we can't do anymore that we sometimes stop looking for the new version of what we can still do. Not the same, not pretending, but just adapting. And if missing who you used to be really is weighing on you, talk about it. Talk with your partner or a friend or somebody in the club, somebody in the community, maybe a counselor, or attend a circle or a support group. Whatever feels right for you. Because sometimes the sentence, I miss who I used to be, gets a lot heavier when you've never said it to anybody. And sometimes somebody else simply saying, I understand, well, that takes a little weight off of it. You don't necessarily need somebody to fix you. You may just need someone who doesn't respond with, but look how well you're doing. Yes, I'm doing well. I can be doing well and still miss something. Both sentences are allowed. And if you're in that season right now, trying to figure out who you are now, not only who Parkinson's changed you from, that is exactly the kind of conversations that we get in my inner circle. It's a smaller group, deeper conversations, monthly Zoom calls, and a chance to talk about some of this stuff together instead of carrying it all privately. Now, if that sounds like something you need, the link is in the description below. No pressure. It's just simply there if you want it. And before I finish, I want to tell you about something that I'm really excited about. This Sunday, Carmen has a special episode coming out tomorrow. Herself. No me sitting beside her saying, no me interrupting her, no me, hey, Carmen, but in my defense, nothing. Which means there was apparently no adult supervision whatsoever. And I've seen what she did with it, and it is so good. It is so good. It is absolutely for care partners because she talks honestly about things from that side of Parkinson's that don't always get said out loud. But if you're the person living with Parkinson's, you need to watch it too. Because sometimes we need to understand that this disease what it looks like from the other side of the relationship. We know what Parkinson's is doing to us, but sometimes we don't see what living beside it asks of the people we love. And I think this episode gives us a chance to hear without me sitting beside Carmen saying, yes, but technically. So make sure you're subscribed and watch for Carmen's episode tomorrow. I think it is one of the most important ones you can watch. And that all brings me back to where we started. If you miss the person you used to be sometimes, I don't think that means that you're rejecting the person you are now. I think it means that person mattered to you. Of course you miss them. They carried you through a huge part of your life. You don't have to erase them and to move forward. And you certainly don't have to pretend every change Parkinson's brought was some wonderful hidden gift. Some of it sucks. I miss my strength. I miss being quick. I miss multitasking. I miss the instant problem solving part of my brain. I miss doing things without calculating them first. And maybe you miss your versions of those things too. But I don't think that the person we were simply disappeared. Some parts have changed. Some became harder to access. Some things were taken. Some things have evolved. And some things have become stronger. And maybe that's true for you too. Well, with that, here's my Bryceism for you today. Here it is. With Parkinson's, you can miss who you were without missing the life you have now. And let me say it to you again. You can miss who you were without missing the life you have now. Both can be true. And I'd really love to hear from you on this one. What do you miss about the person you were before Parkinson's? Not just physically. What part of yourself do you miss? Do you miss your strength, your speed, your confidence, your memory, your independence, your spontaneity, or your ability to solve 10 problems before breakfast? Put that in the comments. That's your first step to gaining victory of this in your life. And if you want to add this too, how are you keeping that part of yourself alive now? Because somebody may read your answer and realize there's still a way forward that they hadn't thought of. If this episode made you think of somebody, we'll share it with them. And guess what? This week on the channel, it is Who Knew Week. I'm so excited for it. And don't forget tomorrow, you gotta watch Carmen's video. It may change your life. It is that good. And until then, I want you to keep showing up. I want you to keep being real. And I want you to keep doing life today. I love you so very much, and I'll see you on the next one.